Hello, everyone. Today I'll be talking about my film presentation and the sculpture I chose, which would be the Capitoline Wolf. Just to give you a little background information about where the statue is currently located. Right now, especially specifically in Rome, there are two statues. The first one, as photographed in this slide, is located in the Capitoline Museum in Rome. There's another statue that is on a column just outside of the museum. And for the statue's history, it was first thought to be of a Scruton work back in the 5th century, before carbon dating showed that the statue was more closely made around the 10th century. And the statue was moved to the Capitoline Hill by Pope Sixtus IV around 1471, which was also the time when the twins, Romulus and Remus, were also added to the statue. For the next part of my film presentation, I thought I'd just share the story about the Capitoline Wolf and the myth that comes with it. And rather than just showing a bunch of photos online about the story, I decided to do a kind of a cartoon, a drawing, a storyboard sort of. I apologize for my drawing. It's not the best, I'll say that. But let's start. So Romulus and Remus's mother, Rhea, she basically conceived them after she was raped by the god of Mars. And their story, when Romulus and Remus was born, their uncle, King Omulus, had an older brother, Nubitor, who he overtook as king of Alba Longa. And Omulus sought to kill anyone who had blood lineage to Nubitor, and Rhea, Romulus and Remus's mother, was the daughter of Nubitor, so Romulus sought to have him killed. So Ray, to protect the twins, decided to put them in a basket in the Tiber River and had them away from Alba Longa so that they could be safe from um, their grand their granduncle's uh, their granduncle's passion to kill anyone who was related to his older brother. The twins were then founded by a mythical creature known as the she-wolf, which in modern times with a statue is called a Capitoline Wolf. She basically suckled them, took care of them for a while when the twins got out of the Tiber River, and they were raised for and they were raised with a wolf until in this next slide, uh, a humble shepherd, Faustulus, found the twins and decided to raise them as his own sons. They grew up on a farm. They were shepherds. They took care of livestock. Did other work as shepherds as well, and they grew up to have a rather peaceful life for themselves. However, Remus got Remus and Romulus were in the middle of Omulus and Numitor's supporters. Remus was eventually taken prisoner by Omulus' supporters, and Omulus sought to have Remus killed for his blood lineage to Numitor. Romulus decided to stage a rescue for his brother along with Numitor's supporters. So during that time, Romulus, Num- sorry, Romulus was killed. Romulus was killed by Romulus, and Remus was saved. And the twins decided to have their grandfather Nubitor restored as the king of Alba Longa. But the story doesn't stop there because sometime later, the twins decided they wanted to build their own city, but they couldn't decide which hill they wanted to build off of, which is kind of silly in retrospect. See, Romulus wanted to build his hill on Palpatine Hill, while Remus wanted to build his hill on Aventine Hill. So they had a contest where whoever got the most domes on their hill would win. Romulus got 12 domes, and Remus got 6. Romulus won the contest, but they contested that contest. So what did they do? Well, what any mythical brothers did back in those days. Romulus killed Remus, and Romulus was therefore the founder of Rome. You know, what's funny about this story, it's really similar to just so many other stories about brothers raised together, loving each other, then basically killing each other for kind of a silly reason. One story I could think back of is uh, in the Bible, in the Old Testament, Cain and Abel, when they killed each other, when Cain killed Abel in the field because God didn't, God like Abel's offering more. Really silly stuff. All right, so next I'd like to talk more about just kind of the statue's details. And I wasn't really able to film on site because in the first photo, it's inside of a museum and it's really quiet. It'd be really awkward and pretentious to film inside with a bunch of other people. And the second photo, which is a column just right outside of a museum, it was really, really windy that day. You could barely hear my voice, so that's why I'm doing a voiceover of it now. We could see in the first photo just really uh, range of details with a wolf. We can start with a she wolf, as you can see, along with a neck specifically, um, over at her, over at the facial part. Just all the details of a fur, which just comes out really distinct and sharp edge of detail. The face is just really detailed as well, especially for the time it was created. Um, just kind of a panting facial expression with which wolves or dogs usually do, and just the whole body as well. For a rib cage, you could see that's really detailed, especially near the back of a thigh. You could see, just the bones and the muscle sticking out, which I find really, really intriguing, really idealistic for this statue. The twins, especially, really common with Roman architecture or Roman statue building. The twins, especially, have the abs for babies, which is kind of hilarious actually, and they're suckling on the wolves, especially. Um, One is kneeling, one is sitting down, and they're almost as if they're thanking God or thanking whichever god they worship as they're feeding off the wolf. And the column too, wasn't able to. I forgot to do a full 360 on the column, but the column also has some interesting details with a marble and an insignia on the bottom, and with some of a Roman Latin writing as well. The second photo with a wolf out on top of a column, wolf is facing. I'm gonna say the wolf is facing east. I might be wrong about that, but that's what I'm thinking. That's the direction I saw it when I was at the location. The column as well. I already talked more about the wolf. The wolf is more or less the same as the one in the museum, just a little smaller. The column architecture is typical for the Romans back in the day, with a frieze and just just a stone they used as well, which is a really really represents the Roman architecture that people used back in the day. So the next topic I'd like to get to is an interesting one with Capitoline Wolf, specifically on a statue on Emperor Hadrian at the Agora in Athens, Greece. I have a YouTube clip that I'd like to show you all, with me talking at the site, just talking about the statue in general, as well as the wolf and the other details.
Okay, so I'm now standing at the statue of Hadrian. He was a Roman emperor from 117 CE to 38 CE. And what's interesting about this statue, you have two things that come to mind. The first one is the goddess Athena standing on top. However, on the bottom, you also have the Capitoline Wolf, who was the one who took care of Romulus and Remus when they were abandoned at a young age. And with Hadrian in particular, what's interesting about him was he was a huge Grecophile. He had a boyfriend, Antonius. He was also a man of Greek culture. He spent a lot of time, a lot of art and culture in Greece. And he was also the first one to have a Greek-style beard, which I find really cool as well.
So this brings me to my final points about the wolf in general. Why is it so important? The wolf is a symbol, one of the first symbols of human civilization throughout the world. It's also a global symbol of a rise and fall of various different empires around the world, not only in Rome, but in China and Turkey, various other places as well where they have similar histories. In this next gallery of photos I have various different wolves taken in various parts of the entire world. The upper left is in Paris, France. Upper right is in Tokyo, Japan. Bottom left is in the National Gallery in Washington, D.C. And the bottom right is in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So this symbol is everywhere in the world, and I mean everywhere. So my final point with Capitoline Wolf is to Michel Serres' statues connection. In his book, he just mentioned the Challenger explosion, where so many people were fascinated by that disaster and how so many TV networks picked up on that disaster and profited off that disaster with various news network specials or documentaries and so forth. So I think the Capitoline Wolf is another similar uh, point with how people face how people look at a tragedy and a triumph with the Capitoline Wolf, where the wolf is a symbol of human civilization, where the two brothers actually fought against a tyranny from their uncle, and a tragedy where they killed each other just because they disagreed on what hill they should build their city on. I compare it to other points of history as well with the Bible, again, with Cain and Abel, how they fought over an offering, or Roman emperors Geta and Caracalla, where they fought with each other over power, where Caracalla eventually killed Geta to gain power for Rome. So this is my sources for the photos. For my final message, Professor, I know you and Georgina have been going through a really rough time right now. I wish you guys all the best. I hope you guys are doing a lot better as you guys are watching this presentation. I'm going to say thank you so much for taking us through this journey. And get well soon, and God bless.